Hello, everybody. We have a very special guest in our studio today. The five-time US champion, reigning Olympic gold medalist, world number one in Blitz. That's all I can remember. Hikaru Nakamura is here. Welcome, Hikaru.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. How are you enjoying lovely Hamburg in autumn?
Yeah, it's my first time being here in Hamburg. Been in Germany many times, but I was expecting it to be a little bit warmer and a little bit sunnier. I mean, just a little bit warmer. Of course, I live in Florida, so coming straight from Florida to Hamburg, quite a difference in temperatures and the climate. But overall, it's been nice. I really like the city. It's pleasant going out and taking some walks when it isn't raining. So overall, that's been good. The chess, of course, was not great here, but it's very tricky when you play an event where essentially there's nothing on the line and you just sort of come and have to play anyway. But overall, it's been a good experience.
So you played in the FIDE Grand Prix, where you went out in the first round against Topalov. I was wondering, is it tough because I'm guessing the money is not such a big factor for you in these events to motivate at all? Because if you, as you said, you're not playing for much, and it looked like in the second game you played the Queen's Gambit accepted. It looked like you wouldn't mind too much of the game in the draw, right?
Yeah, I think after the first game where I tried to play something that I thought was interesting against the Berlin defense, and in fact, instead of being interesting, it was just bad. After that error, it's kind of a situation where you have to take into account what are you really playing for. And I think sort of during the first game, I got caught in that I was trying to play something interesting because in the back of my mind, a couple of people had told me that if I found a way to win, say, 2 or 3 matches in Classical and then win the whole thing overall, there was perhaps an outside chance of qualifying for the candidates. So for that reason, I sort of in the middle of the game, instead of just going Radjabov style, which I could have done, like if we look at the game itself. Yeah. Yeah, if we look at this position after like b6 in here, I could have been truly like Radjabov, just played queen d2, castles, and played something like king b1 or maybe d4, rook e1, and just, offered a draw. And that probably would have, I'm sure Veselin would have taken it. But then during the game, I just thought, well, I want to try and play interesting. It doesn't appear to lose right off, and I saw that I could stop this whole g5, h5, g4 idea. So that's why I played like this. But in fact, it turns out to just be bad because the idea for black is just very, very straightforward. For some reason, I just forgot that he could play this rook g8, rook f8, and f5. And in fact, probably just a few moves later around this point, ef, gf, rook d2. I think there are many ways for black to win. I think here Veselin played fe4. I suspect f4 and just playing it like a King's Indian with like queen h5 and rook g3. Practically speaking, it should be winning. Maybe if I can somehow get this knight to d5, there's some counterplay, but realistically, it should just be totally lost. So, obviously Veselin, he didn't play it precisely. He kept the game going much longer than it should have, but the result was never really in doubt. And so once I lost this game, it's sort of that spot where, okay, now I can't win the match in Classical. So even if there's like a 5% chance of qualifying, there was literally a 0% chance. And so I prepared for e4, had something a little bit different, and then he played d4. And actually, the night before, I had actually flipped a coin in my hotel room. It was like, well, am I going to play like the Queen's Gambit accepted, or am I going to play the Menko Gambit?
Wow.
So I flipped a coin. Actually, when I flipped the coin, I decided I was going to play the Menko Gambit, and then I spent the whole morning looking at e4 and all sorts of different things. And then Veselin played d4, and I thought for maybe 5 minutes, and I decided, there's no point being silly and playing something where I could very easily lose without getting anything at all. Whereas in, say, the World Cup, if you tie the match and win the match, it's basically just getting to the end. There's always a chance of getting to the end and qualifying, whereas in something like this, not only do I need to win, I need a lot of luck as well, and so I just decided it wasn't worth it. But having said that, Veselin then decided to stay true to his style, and he played a very interesting game.
I was very surprised.
Where both had chances.
I was expecting dc5 and a handshake, but he went for something very sharp.
Yeah, that's why I spent so much time in the opening. First, I was thinking Queen's Gambit accept, then I was thinking, do I want to play c5 or play something dubious with b5? And I was just like, okay, well, I'll play c5, and then he played a very sharp variation within this e4 line, which was very surprising. So I was just very surprised that Vesselin played like that, and maybe for like a move or two in that game, I had a chance, but realistically, there's never anything conclusive. So for that reason, the game ended in a peaceful draw and ended the Grand Prix for me. Certainly not what I was hoping for, but again, as with most of the qualifiers this year, a lot of it is going to be some combination of playing well at the right time and getting a little bit lucky in who you play. And it wasn't meant to be, but still, I mean, it is what it is, and just trying to finish the year on a reasonably good note instead of just like, say, losing my last game. I felt it was more important to just avoid losing.
Does losing a game bother you, even if it doesn't affect the tournament? Because I hate losing so much that even if a draw kicks me out, I'll still take it, which is stupid. But
it's funny because this year's easily been my worst year as a professional by far. But most of the losses that I've had this year have been like one move or a slight mistake somewhere in the middle of the game where I've had chances. And this game against Vesselin was one of the few games that I've lost where literally I played something dubious and I just got outplayed the whole game. So like I wanted to be really upset about the loss, but when you do something stupid and your opponent just plays very well, there's nothing you can really be angry about. So I wanted to be angry, but because of the way Vesselin played, I wasn't really that angry. And I think, it's obviously it's disappointing, but there's nothing you can do. You just have to tip your cap and move on. But many games of course, as a professional, many of the games I lose, it comes down to split second decisions or, getting in time pressure, just making one of two choices and picking the wrong one. And obviously, it's very, very upsetting because I expect myself to do better. But again, you just have to take it as it comes and move along.
You spoke about the other chances to qualify in the Isle of Man. You were also in the running for a long time, and then you got Fabiano in the last round, which probably wasn't the ideal pairing, right?
Well,
I mean, no disrespect to Howell or anybody, but probably you weren't thrilled about it, right?
Yeah, but again, I mean, I think with the Grand Swiss, a lot of it is luck. It's who you play at what moment, and when you look at the breakdown of the people who are in contention, I think only Wang Hao was playing strong players from the start. Several of us were way down the tables. David was, I mean, I don't even know where he was. He was probably like in the other room at some point early on. I know I got off to a slow start. Levon as well got off to a slow start, and that really hurt our tiebreak. So for that reason, it was always going to be very hard to qualify if we didn't win at the end, because the big tie was never going to favor us with the tiebreak system. But having said that, it was really nice to play a good tournament, because the good tournaments this year have been very few and far between, and to win this game with black against Kovalev was really, really nice. To get two whites against Levon and Fabiano at the end, you really couldn't ask for more. And actually, the game against Fabiano, I was very, very happy with the opening. I got something that, even though it's symmetrical, all the pieces were on the board. And I think I think actually I had something. I had a chance in that game. If we can.
Let me just see if I can find it. Ooh, he played Fabi a lot.
Many games.
This one?
Yes, it is this one. Yeah. So this in this Petrov game, I was super happy to get this because Fabiano played this night before, which essentially what he's trying to do here is when I don't play just normal like Bishop D3 and C3, I play this H3 here. I want to play H3 and basically get everything. I want the bishop on the diagonal, but I also want H3 to stop Bishop G4. And when Fabiano tried to punish the move order by playing Knight B4, and we got this position, which was really, really nice for me, right around here. Fabiano did find this Knight E6, Knight F4 idea, which was really, really nice. I assume, of course, preparing for the World Championship, he had looked at various structures and he was familiar with this idea. But nonetheless, in the game, I actually had some chances. So we reached this position, and the first thing actually is when we reached this position, not this position, Knight 2, Queen D5, was that here I thought about playing C4, playing Rook E1 first. And at the board, in this moment when I was thinking it through, I calculated Rook E1, Bishop F5, and I thought C4, and I was much better. The reason being that if Black plays, well, let's say Queen D4, I can play Knight takes E4. If Queen B2, I have Knight D6, say Bishop E6, maybe Rook B1, maybe even just F4 and Queen D3. And this Queen is terrible. I've got like Rook B1 coming, this is just probably crushing. So I thought that after C4, if he plays, well, even Queen D3, it's the same thing, just Rook E3, Queen D4, Knight E4. And anything else, I mean, I'm just much better. The queen goes to like a5 is still 94. If 95, just 96, and I'm winning material here. So during the game when I was calculating for a long time here, I saw c4, and I thought after c4 I might still be better, play something like rook e1 here. Now the computer showed that black is fine with this very nice e3 move. But during the game I was optimistic, and then when I saw that I could play it with this order, with c4, I thought I might just be winning here. So I was really happy about this. And then to my horror at the board after Fabiano played bishop f5, I saw it on c4 he can go queen e6. And the point being that after knight e4 takes rook e4, he's got this annoying f5 move with f4 coming. And I completely missed this. And I think it's still probably okay for white here, something like rook e1 f4 bishop h2. But with this bishop on h2, I mean, well, it's fine. You can also end up in a lot of trouble here. So when I saw this at the board, I was just really upset. And then I played knight b3, rook e8, and kind of here I'd already given up because I felt I'd missed a chance. But it turns out that in this position after takes, rook d1, rook d8, I still could have kept the game going with this move, knight c5. Black can't go b6 because then there's knight b7, rook d7, knight d6, just winning material. And if he plays bishop c8, I can play this move e6. The point being fe6, I have bishop c7, and I'm going to win the rook here on d8. And after e6, bishop takes e6, knight b7, probably rook 8, knight c5. I think black is probably okay with correct play, but still, isolated pawn. I've got these 3 queenside pawns. A lot of ideas potentially long term. So, well, I think black can hold this with correct play. There still would have been some work left for Fabiano to hold this game. Whereas I played knight d4 and just made the draw because I was so disgusted by everything. So I had some chances even here, but overall I was very happy because I felt that the choices I made were very good in terms of trying to keep the game alive in a must-win situation. And the game against Levon as well with white, he just happened to know the variation. It was a little bit too easy, but I felt I made the right choices. And when you make the right choices, especially in modern-day chess where advantages do not exist without mistakes, to make the right choice, even if you don't win, I think is extremely important. So I was very pleased with my overall choices throughout that event. And so it was a very good event. Even though I didn't qualify, I was quite happy. And on one hand, I was happy that Wang Hao not only did he qualify, but also he won the last round. Because I think if he hadn't won the last round game, let's say he had drawn against David like he should have, I might be still thinking about not playing knight c5 and keeping the game going the way that I should have. So the fact that he won the game, at least just takes it all out of the equation. And I think also it's nice to see that in something like the Grand Swiss, the best player did actually qualify, because I would say probably 90% of the time that's not going to happen. It's going to end up being something completely random. And so seeing the player who played the best and deserved it the most qualifying was nice.
Yeah, shout out to Wang Hao. I don't think many people saw that one coming, but he just played amazingly. So what are your priorities these days? You're still playing all these big events, but you're also doing a lot of other stuff. You're probably the biggest chess streamer out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does it take up more of your time, like than studying openings or whatever? Or
I think there are a few things. I don't think that actually streaming has affected my overall level of play, but I think what it has done is that in a year like 2019, where there literally were so many tournaments in a row, when you don't get the downtime and the breaks because you're streaming, it sort of saps the enjoyment. It takes away the freshness of chess. And so I think that actually, more so than the streaming itself, is what affected me. It was just the fact that when I wasn't playing, I was streaming, so then I was doing chess all the time on top of studying. And I think that just when you're not fresh and you're not feeling inspired, I think that plays a big role. So while streaming, I don't think overall was the reason. Well, I mean, it was in the sense that I didn't play well because I was doing it while I was playing all these tournaments. I don't think streaming affects the overall level. It's just that there were so many tournaments and I didn't necessarily make the wisest decisions with my time. Perhaps I should have cut back on that. But having said that, I enjoy streaming. I've still been doing it. Recently, I've been doing it less, but I'll keep doing it. I don't think I'll be doing it like every day the way I was early in the year, because I do want to get back to focusing on playing well in classical chess. And the event here, the FIDE Grand Prix, was, I mean, it's so short. It's like 2 games and then that's it. So I don't really feel like it means that I've gone back to playing badly, for example, right after the Isle of Man, and so I still feel good, and I don't know what my next events are. I know that I'm playing the India event, the Grandchester event. After that, I mean, I might not be playing.
Rapid and Blitz, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So after that, I mean, I don't know when my next event is. I'm not playing Vike or Gibraltar. So unless FIDE and the Grand Chess Tour decide to get their act together and put something in this open period in February and March, there's a good chance I won't play till the U.S. Championship. So it could be quite a long time.
March, April?
April or May. Wow. April or May. But again, I mean, I think a lot of the issues with the calendar this year were because FIDE and the Grand Chess Tour did not get together and figure out a way to put some events in February and March.
It was a weird year, no? We had this 2 month off, and since then is chess every day, more or less. It's really
I mean, I think that affected everyone, I think. I mean, I think Ding played well overall this year. Fabiano's had moments of very good plays, also had moments where he's played really badly. Magnus started off the year red hot. Lately, he's cooled off too. But outside of those three, I mean, I'd be hard-pressed to say anybody's played consistently well.
No, you can tell by the rating qualifier. Giri's going to get it, but I think even himself he wouldn't say.
I think Anish would say he's had a terrible year too. So I think pretty much everyone's not had the greatest of years, which has sort of made it into something which I would actually say it's akin to the stock market in a way. It's like, it's not necessarily about what your rating is, it's what have you done for me lately. It's like Wesley, he's had probably one of his worst years too, but he beat Magnus in this 960. So it's all about what you've done in the last tournament or last couple events, and so I'm looking forward to playing more next year, playing well again. Obviously less tournaments overall, but I think, as the saying goes, form is temporary, class is permanent, and I expect to get back to playing well in the coming years.
So you think it's been a classical thing? Because at least from the ratings and your results in Rapid and Blitz are still pretty stable and strong, but it's only been the classical that's suffering. Is that a different game, or it's just coincidence?
I think it's easier to just play Rapid even when you're tired than it is to play classical chess. When you go into a classical event, it's very long, and for me, one thing that I've always enjoyed a lot is taking these long trips from the U.S. to Europe, or wherever it is, these 6-7 hour flights. And I felt that for me, at the start of some of these events, I just wasn't quite able to get into the rhythm right away, and that really cost me. So like in Zagreb, I played Fabiano in the first round. I lost this game straight out of preparation. If I play somebody else, let's say hypothetically I play Magnus with black in the first round and lose to him, I think the whole tournament is completely different than it turned out. But because of the way the pairings were, and then just getting off to a bad start, I think that set the tone. St. Louis, who did I lose to? Who did I lose to in St. Louis? I lost to somebody there, right?
I can't recall.
I think I was -1. I lost to Nepo there. But I just feel like in general the rhythms were a little bit off for most of the events. And again, classical chess, I think it's much harder to recover if you don't get off to a good start, especially when you're playing all the time. Whereas Rapid, you play a bad game, you're going to still have like 2 or 3 games the same day as well, which really helps. So I think it's just specific to classical chess. I think for whatever reason it didn't click, but I don't think that I've suddenly just become a worse player, where I'm suddenly playing 50 points lower than what I'm capable of. So I have to work on it, figure it out, maybe plan trips better. Of course, it should be a lot easier when you don't have like 2 days to get from one place to another place. But yeah, I just have to work on those sorts of things, and I think eventually things will get back to normal. So if they don't, they don't. But I feel like I'm still capable of playing very well.
How old are you? 31, right? It's
31, turning 32 in about a month.
Nowadays,
that's young. Old, I don't know what that is. I mean, it's weird. I feel like somehow there's Vishy who's miles older than everybody else, but beyond that, I feel like I'm starting to feel like I'm one of the older guys, along with Levon, which is kind of weird.
It's true, actually. Yeah, this whole generation, they're all 28 or 26.
Yeah, because Peter is in some events, obviously, but outside of Levon, who else is?
Levon, Vishy, Grishuk, and then it's you.
Yeah, but Grishuk wasn't in the Grand Chester this year, which is why I didn't think of him. But yeah, in general, there's Levon, there's Grishuk, But otherwise, yeah, everyone's younger than me. So it's kind of becoming a little bit weird when I play these Grand Chess Tour events and you have Vichy and you have Levon and that's it. It's weird when Levon is the only person within the age range who's older than me. But of course, that's the way chess goes. It seems to get younger and younger.
You're not getting sick of it? Because it's not so much about the age, I feel sometimes, but you've been good at a very early age, whatever you've been playing professional, let's say, since age 13. So whatever, 20 years in, you don't feel like the grind of preparing for a game and so on gets tougher?
I mean, it's a lot tougher now than it was. I remember even when I was first starting to play in elite events in like 2010, I believe it was. I think I played the Tal Memorial, and I had this very exciting Petrov game against Kramnik. It was a knight c3. Yeah. I castled queenside, he castled kingside, and I got this attack. The game ended in a draw. But I remember when I was prepping for games like that, it was very interesting, very exciting, and there usually always was play, even if positions were equal. Whereas now, the goal is just to get play. I mean, most of the time, if your opponent's prepared well, you don't even get play. So I think just having to work harder just to get play, certainly it's not as enjoyable as it once was. But I still think it's a challenge, and I like playing chess. I don't feel like stopping anytime soon. So just got to keep going. And I think one of the biggest challenges is figuring it out, like what has changed. Like I don't think I've become a much worse player overall, but obviously I'm not doing something right. And I think trying to figure that out while the game is still changing and getting harder and harder, it's very motivating, and I'm definitely trying to keep on improving.
Do you struggle with this thing that I feel a lot of people have it? I've certainly always have it, that if you do too much engine work, even though your openings might get better, you lose skills as a practical player because you get so used to just staring at the computer and everything is 0-0, or it's not a problem for you?
Well, I think in general, all top players, probably outside of Magnus, I feel, have become significantly worse at end games. And I think a large part of that is because we do use computers so much that it's just, you reach some end game, okay, it's zeros, it's equal, time to go home, that's all there is to it. And so I feel because of that, it's definitely affected the level of play. Now, it's not to say that overall we aren't much better at endgames than players from the past, but I do feel we make errors that I think some of those old school Soviet guys would probably just roll their eyes at.
They also had a knight to check it in German, no? Like...
Yeah, that's true. But I just mean, I feel like there are certain things we do in some of these endgames that just are weird. So, for example, even Wang Hao's game against Levon in the Isle of Man, he reached this end game, this 2 versus 1. So it was, I think Levon had like a king on h5, rook g5, pawns on g3, h4. Wang Hao had like a rook a3, king f6, I think it was, and a pawn on f5. Or maybe it was, no, sorry, king was on e4, I think it was. And so in this position, I believe Wang Hao played f4, and then Levon played g4, and then Wang Hao thought forever, and he couldn't find the drawing line. Mind you, there was only one way to draw at that point, but in the position, I think he could have just gone like rook a8, and I think it was a really routine draw. And instead, he played f4 almost instantly. Levon played g4, an obvious only move, and then Wang Hao thought forever and couldn't find the solution. And so even something like that, it's just inexplicable why that would happen when there's only one move. So you see a lot of this where people make these sorts of mistakes that just you would never expect them to make in the end games. And so I think for that reason it's changed a lot there. And I think it's hard when you look at engines so much to just see the positions and like just try to find play, because again, we've gotten so used to it. When you see zeros everywhere, or you see +5 from Leela, you lose the objectivity that you normally would have. So I think it's affected us. It's good in the sense that we know from a defensive standpoint, we know there always are resources. But in terms of trying to come up with ideas or play the absolute best moves, I don't think we're great at that. And I think for me as well, using a computer all the time has definitely not helped.
Do you do most of your clicking yourself, or are you working still with Chris Littlejohn?
Yeah, I still work with Chris. There are a couple of other people that I work with from time to time as well. I think even now more so than when we started, it actually makes more sense. I know when we started working together, a lot of people thought it was completely insane to have somebody who more or less is only a computer expert.
Nowadays, it really doesn't matter anymore.
Well,
So
yeah, well, I mean,
engines,
that's my point. So, like, when we started working together, and I want to say 2008 or 2009, it was very weird. Because at that point, the computers were obviously, all the engines were better than we are, but it wasn't to the point where, like, it's just like, okay, you just have somebody who can understand the engine evals, and that's good enough. Whereas now, that's very commonplace, very normal. I mean, I feel like there are actually quite a few masters who are capable of doing a lot of good work. And so I still work with him. Obviously, when you're working with someone who you're so familiar with, it makes it easier. Again, this year hasn't been great. Whether you can attribute that to working with the same person or something from the preparation standpoint not being right. Who knows? But again, you try to correct it, and there are other people I've worked with as well, and you try to get some new ideas as well, sort of have a view of the bigger picture, which is another reason I've worked with some other people. But in general, nothing really has changed with how I've prepared or the people that I work with in the last couple of years.
Well, at least there's Lila now, who doesn't give 0-0 in every position, so sometimes he will have an opinion, which for some of the clickers, I got sick of the zeros, actually. You can recheck all your openings.
Yeah, I mean, but it's weird when you look at the engine. So, like, Lila will... Overall, it's right with the ideas for the most part. So Leela says something like, +2, which of course is very high, but it says +2 in some position, let's say 12 moves out of the opening. Generally, Leela is going to be right when it says +2 and Stockfish says like equals. But more often than not, let's say you're looking at a super sharp Nightorf where there are attacks on both sides, it will miss the tactics. It'll be like, okay, well, the position is equal, when in fact Black's just winning because there's a 2-move tactic that Leela doesn't see. So there are some issues with that, but certainly it is fun to see the differential, because in the past, I think really there was only Stockfish that people would use, or Ribka, and the evals would more or less be the exact same. There would be no major difference between the two. And so now when you have Leela, which gives these big evaluations, and Stockfish just giving zeros, it's nice, it's refreshing that you have engines that have differing viewpoints, because again, you would think 2 engines, 31, 3200, what real difference can there be between them? But it's great to see that there is a difference.
No, like you say, it feels like for the first time in 10 years, there's 2 guys who really have different opinions. And Leela, it feels like an old guy with great understanding who just blunders pieces every now and then. So
exactly,
really
yeah.
You've mentioned the stock market. You have so many interests. Are you active in these fields, or are you just following?
I mean, I have periods where I'm very active and periods where I'm completely inactive. I try not to do any of that stuff during chess tournaments. I find that it tends to detract from my focus. And when you have other things like that on your mind, it's not good, because you really need to focus on one thing, especially during the events. Like I remember. I think it was in Dortmund actually in 2011. I think that's the year I played, and I think every evening I was actually I was playing online poker, and at that time I think it's not like, I'm not saying that's a good thing or that led to a bad result there, because I don't think it did, but I felt like you could sort of do multiple things at the time, because you still had to prepare, but it wasn't where everybody knew every last little line up to move 20, whereas now I feel that you really have to dedicate all your time towards the preparation, because everybody is extremely well prepared, and you can't just be doing random things at night during the evenings. So no, I try not to focus on these things, but yes, there are periods when I'm very active. I mean, at the moment, I am actually very active in the stock market. I mean, I also am in real estate as well, but the thing that drives all these other interests, or the thing that gives me the capital to be in these different ventures, is of course playing chess. So chess still is my focus, and it will be for the foreseeable future.
So stocks wise, any advice? Because I finally decided I'm an idiot, so I should just put any cent I have in ETFs and let it do the work. Is that smart?
Well, put it in the American ETFs, not European ETFs.
Yeah. MSCI World. I want a little Europe and Japan in there.
I mean, I think in general, for the vast majority of people, ETFs are just mutual funds, or ETFs just following the broad market make the most sense. I, at the moment, am very much involved, in individual stocks or stock picking, whether it's through derivatives, through options, or just owning stock. I do quite a bit of that. But I think the reason I do that is, first of all, I do have a lot of money in ETFs already. But secondly, I'm in a position where I feel like I should take some risk. I should try to go for outsized returns because of my financial situation. Now, it's not to say I'm always right. I'm not, of course. But there are periods when I think, especially in this current market with the current U.S. administration, that there have been really big swings, a lot of volatility. And if you wait for the downswings, especially, you can just buy stocks very cheaply and you see huge returns. There are plenty of stocks like that, especially some of the Chinese ones like Alibaba and Baidu.
So you wait for your president to say something funny about China, and then you jump in when.
I mean, it's not even China. It's just in general. I feel like I've been doing stuff in the market since about 2007. I mean, on a fairly moderate to serious level, and the swings that you see are not. It's not what you would see in the past. So for that reason, you see the swings. Say the market. There was a period I think it was August when the Nasdaq went down about 4% or 4.5% in 2 days, and so all the chips specifically, you had some of the chips in the semis, you had like Micron or Nvidia going down 10% in that period, and it's just if you have the money, you just go buy them, and then of course everything recovers. So I feel like there have been a lot of opportunities for stuff like that. But in general, for most people, unless you're going to spend a lot of time and more or less obsessively follow it when you're active, I mean, just put money in ETFs and don't look back.
Yeah. I also started in 2007, so I had a fun 2008 when.
Yeah. I mean, luckily I wasn't
Good
like
old
I didn't start making real money in chess until about 2010, so I didn't have to. I didn't end up losing a lot of money in some of those things.
So what are your plans with the streaming? I noticed you started covering tournaments. Like, let the rest of us eat. You did Norway Chess, and are you doing any more big tournaments?
No, I was gonna say though, I think doing Norway Chess was a huge mistake. Sure, I got a lot of subscriptions.
Glad to hear.
And yeah, right, of course. I think it was a huge mistake, and the reason it wasn't a mistake from the standpoint of doing the coverage itself. I really enjoyed it, but the thing is, what happened is the tournament that I played before Norway, I believe, was the Moscow FIDE Grand Prix, which ended, I want to say, about a week to a week and a half before Norway Chess began. Maybe it was a little more than that. At any rate, it wasn't a long period of time, and so when I went and covered Norway Chess, and you're doing like 6 to 7 hours of coverage every single day, it adds up, and it's more chess on top of just trying to get away from it a little bit. And so when I did that, what happened is that it made me a little bit tired of chess, and also, I just didn't want to look at chess at all. And so when you need that break and you don't get it, and then I think maybe, was it a week and a half, 2 weeks later, there was Zagreb, I think that was a direct contributor in terms of why I played badly. Covering tournaments, I might do that in the future. Like I said, I enjoyed covering Norway Chess, but it's not something that I plan to make. It's not going to be a regular part of my life, streaming coverage of tournaments.
I hate life so much. Around Vike, round number 12, and you're sitting there and someone's playing a 70-move endgame, and let me just go
Yeah,
on.
I mean, I
do enjoy it, but it does get tiresome after a while.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, it's like I feel like it's more tiring than playing a game of chess. So, like I said, I enjoyed covering Norway Chess, but I think it's a real commitment. It takes a lot of time. And that's why I don't intend to make it a regular part. Just playing online blitz for me is good enough.
Do you get upset when you lose an online blitz game?
I get upset when I feel like I'm playing badly. Now, it's of course well documented that I used to be a very, very bad loser when it came to online chess. I don't think that's any secret. But nowadays, I think the thing is, you just play. When I play badly, I lose a game here or there. I do get annoyed from time to time. But for the most part, it's online chess. And I think when you're young, it's very hard to put it all in perspective. It's just like heat of the moment. You want to win every game. You feel very aggressive. The adrenaline is flowing. Whereas now it's sort of like, okay, I played a game. I lost. It's just online chess. Like you can't lose your mind over things like that. So I do get angry, but for the most part, unless it's say it were a match against Magnus, I've had a few of those online, of course. Unless I get a position that should be winning and I make like a one-move blunder, something like that, then I will be upset. But I don't generally stay upset, and I think one of the things that's really important when it comes to, this applies even to over-the-board matches, but one of the things that's very important is to not tilt. And some of these other top players, I think Nepo specifically, I will say, he tilts very easily, which is online or live. I've played him online quite a few times, and he loses like 2-3 games, and then he just goes on this huge losing streak. And I think that's one thing that I'm very happy about, is that I don't get super angry over these losses, which in turn it helps me avoid tilting when I'm playing some of these.
Magnus says he tilts too. I've asked him about it. He says, "Okay, nothing to do. Just wait till it's over."
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think even Magnus tilts, but the problem is Magnus can tilt, but he's still generally on average playing better chess. So his tilt is not going to be as severe for the most part as most other top players, because just the quality of his moves is still going to be generally higher.
Do you do non-chess stuff on the channel? I saw you played Fortnite or something.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I play Fortnite from time to time. Not that often. Again, it's another thing that takes up time, and I don't feel like it's super productive. So I just did it. I did it more for fun. Unfortunately, I am halfway decent at the game, which doesn't help, because I think, you know, to use Jan as an example again, I think one thing that held him back for a long time is that he played a lot of
he's good at Dota too. Or
Dota, yeah. I think he was playing League of Legends as well, and I know he plays Hearthstone now. So I mean, I do play it from time to time, but I think that it's one of those things that there's no added benefit to it. If I'm, you know, say doing something like the stock market, there's a clear reason, a clear motivation and purpose. You know, if I'm doing many of these things, if there's a purpose and a goal to it, it's very easy to do it, and it's logical. But with playing games online, I don't play them that much because it's taking up a lot of time, and also, you know, I feel like I should focus. I should focus on the things that really matter. So I don't do it that much. I don't plan on streaming games on my channel that often. I'm decent at Fortnite, so I don't mind doing it. But overall, I don't like. I wouldn't say want to be a variety streamer where I play a bunch of games and I'm just bad at most of them. To me, if I play something, this applies to everything actually. You know, if I say tomorrow I was 2650 or something, I would just quit chess because I would not.
Welcome to my world.
I would. Well, you're higher than that, aren't you? Still or not?
45, but I did quit chess.
Okay. But so like if tomorrow, for example, say I was 2645, I would not keep playing chess because I would just be so disgusted at my inability to play at a high level. And when I play games, for example, if I say, let's just say I take 1 week and I literally play Fortnite 10 hours every day, and I get to say the equivalent of maybe 1800 or something, I still would be so disgusted because that's just, by the standards of where I am in chess, that's just not very good. And so if I'm going to play games and I'm just going to suck at them, for lack of a better word, I'm just not going to waste my time on that, because why do I want to do that if I can't be any good at it? So for that reason, I mean, you're not going to see me taking up a lot of games or streaming many games. Fortnite was more or less a one-time thing. I might do it in the future just a little bit, but it's not something that will ever become a regular part of my streaming.
Speaking of games, how's your poker career? You used to play quite a bit of poker too, right?
Yeah, I played poker in the old days when it was still legal in the U.S. Unfortunately, it hasn't really been legal in the U.S. for many years now, and there were a few chess tournaments back in the day at places like Foxwoods where there were casinos, or in Las Vegas like the National Open. But in general, to drive to a casino really doesn't excite me that much. And oddly enough, a lot of people have said that they find poker players interesting. To me, I've found that chess players as a whole are much more interesting than poker players. I mean, maybe things have changed.
Poker watchers.
Maybe things have changed, but a lot of the poker players that I saw when I was playing it, a lot of the really good ones, they were very young kids with a very little life experience. And coming from chess, where a lot of people 16, 17, 18 are traveling everywhere, playing tournaments, they have some understanding of culture. For me, I really didn't like the vibe of that. So when you combine the fact there's no online poker with the fact that I wasn't a big fan of the people that I was interacting with when I played live, I
do the headphones. Playing. I sit in commerce, do the headphones, lose all my money, and go home miserable.
Yeah. So not really. I mean, I might play a tournament here or there, but I'll never be serious about poker again.
But you're involved with this new thing called Choker, which is it's an app combining chess and poker?
Yeah, so it basically the way Choker works is you're going to end up getting 5 cards with various pieces. So, for example, you get a queen, rook, bishop, knight, and pawn. That would be a very basic setup. And so each player starts with a king and a pawn, king on e1, king on e8, pawn on e2, e7. And then you get 5 cards with 5 different pieces, and you place them on the board and you play. So it's a mix. You start with 2 cards. There's a round of betting. You get 2 more cards. Round of betting. You get the final card. You bet, and then you play a game of chess. So
it's basically Texas Hold'em, but then you didn't win the pot, but you have to play a game of chess, or
exactly. Of course, you can resign the game of chess. You don't have to play it. I mean, let's say your
opponent has queen, 2 rooks. You get a bunch of pawns. You fold. Or...
Well, you can fold before you get to the chess bar. Obviously, you know, if I say we start with say 1,000 chips and playing 25-50 and I bet 250, you can just fold. You don't have to go to the chess part. So you're combining the betting part of poker as well as having cards like in Texas Hold'em, and then you also have the chess aspect. So I think it adds a lot of variety. I think it's quite different. In that you have to have a little bit of skill in chess and poker. Obviously, if you're really good at chess, but you're not good at understanding betting, and you just assume, you know, hey, I'm Hikaru Nakamura, I've got a queen, and then I get 4 pawns, and I can just beat anybody. It's probably not going to work out very well. So it's an interesting new game. It's combining poker and chess, and I'm looking forward to seeing how.
Is it finally going to make me rich? Because most people don't play chess for money with players that are weaker than them, but if you add some chance element like with the poker, is that going to happen? Do chess skills matter there?
Yeah, I mean, I think chess skills matter. I think the thing that for me is very interesting is the fact that it's not clear cut what are like, say, good starting hands. So for example, say you get 2 cards at the start and you get like a rook and a knight, or a rook knight bishop, and say 2 rooks bishop knight, and your opponent is just betting at you. It's not clear to me what sort of starting hands are going to be great, what you should fold and what you should play against a good chess player, but also someone who understands the betting patterns as well as the percentages the way that most of the really strong poker players do. So I think it'll be interesting to see how it develops from the standpoint of strategies like the betting, understanding what starting hands are good, what ranges are good, and then also just pure chess ability as well. So it's really interesting. I'm looking forward to being playable on computers as well. Right now it's just an app, but I think at some point it'll also be on a browser. So it should be a lot of fun and interesting, and hopefully a lot of people take a look at it.
For you, if you're, let's say, your opponent is an 1800 chess player and you get a starting position where you're rook down, are you actually an underdog there? Like,
I think you actually probably will just lose, and the reason being that you only have 6 pieces on the board.
Right.
So the fact that you have a pawn e2 and then you place 5 other pieces, I think due to the limited material, you're actually a big underdog against an 1800. I think an 1800 should be able to just beat you. I would say 9 out of 10. Wow. I think.
Greetings to Lawrence Trent. So yeah, we'll check out the poker thing, the choker thing. It sounds very interesting. Stay tuned for desktop versions. What's your role with it? You're like the spokesman, the ambassador.
I'm an ambassador for it. Mm-hmm.
So you have all these ventures. You have the stock market, the streaming, the classical chess. Do you ever take like a day off? Do you go on holidays?
I mean, I try to, but the thing is that one thing or another almost always comes up. So, you know, if it's say a weekend, for example, I'm not playing chess and there's nothing going on in the stock market, usually there's something to deal with in real estate because as people in the US would know, when you own properties or you're very heavily involved in managing things, there always are issues. Whether it's, say, you know, like a leak in a house, in a condo or an apartment, whether it's an issue with like a homeowners association, or, you know, say you have a mortgage, for example, and there's a service transfer from one company to another. There always are little things going on. So I don't take that many days off. There are periods when I don't look at these sorts of things, but for the most part, I try to stay very busy, and it's just the sort of person I am. I'm not somebody who likes to. I wouldn't want to just say, I could not just say sit on a beach for a week and do nothing. Wow. That's just not me.
Thailand beaches are nice, no? Do you have like these homeowners meetings where someone is saying, I think we should pool our money to buy jacuzzis for all the condos, and then you have to argue with them? Do you do stuff like that?
I mean, I don't deal directly with that, but I mean, there are things along those lines, like say there have to be repairs, and there's a whole like homeowners meeting and arguments, discussions, all that sort of stuff. Luckily, when I'm playing chess, all that stuff is out the window. Nothing that I have to think about. But those are the sorts of things that do come up more frequently than one would assume. And I think one thing, having been involved in real estate for probably about 2 to 3 years now, is that not to be political, but I completely understand how the president of the United States is the way that he is because of his background in real estate.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so thank you so much for your time. Check out, you probably are already if you're watching this, Twitch TV GM Hikaru, is that the one?
Correct, yes.
Check out Choker. Anything else?
No, I mean, I think we covered a lot. I think it's really, really nice being here. First time being at the Chess24 studios here in Hamburg. Obviously, I've watched so many of the different videos like Sopiko, Anish, you, Peter, everybody. So it's really nice being here in the studios.
Likewise. Thanks so much for stopping by. And yeah, best of luck with that Classical Chess 2020.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for watching. See you around.